think about categories different than we think about numbers. This is what I mean by understand the types of data that you have. And so pausing and sort of thinking about what you have, or what this quote is that I sort of brought up and then took away. Let me bring it back up. So John Tukey is considered one of the godfathers of this field of how do we make sense of data, data visualization. And he says, before you can even begin testing your ideas against evidence, it's essential to get a good feel for what your data look like. Okay, we need to know what data we have before we can graph it and make a claim from it and identify it, or to, fit the model to the data, all those things. We have to know what data we're working with. And this is a really easy thing for our students who are novices just to skip over, right? Our students love the tell me what I need to do so I can do it. Anybody else in that boat where they're like, am I doing it right? Am I doing the right things? Yeah. So we need to create space to pause, to get them to pause. And it comes down to this, as I said, we think about categories different than we think about numbers. When we're thinking about categories, like we have pinto bean, white beans, black beans, see what else do we have? We have lentils, pinto beans. These are categories. These are discrete things that we have. Even if we were to crossbreed a black bean with a lentil, we would get a different discrete category. It would be a thing of itself. And so I'm pausing because it looked like my internet wobbled there. And when we have categories, we need a discrete way to compare them, like tick marks or individual bars. Whereas when we have numbers, like a count of how many white beans or lentils are in any one of these stacks, then we need a continuous way to compare. We are on a number line. This is something that our kindergartners are learning, like number sense. Like we had a friend over last night for dinner whose daughter's in TK, and she was so excited to tell me about how it was the 100th day of school yesterday, and she had counted out 100 grains of rice to put in a little baggie to bring to school, to which point I said, wow, that's impressive patience. Like 100 grains of rice, counting them all out. But she is learning this number sense of the number line. So we need a continuous way to measure things when we have that. And not only do our brains think differently about categories and numbers, but we visualize it differently between categories and numbers. When we've got categories, we've got discrete components. So here I'm showing you visualizations of some rocks. So in case you're interested in rocks, where we have black rocks and we have gray rocks. Now we could have gray black rocks, but that would be, again, another category. You can't be in sort of the gray and the black and the gray black all together. Like you're in one or the other. It depends on how we categorize them. Whereas the length of our rocks, it's that continuous number scale. So we've got bars in both, but this is also why our histograms, the bars are connected to one another, and bar charts, there's supposed to be spaces between the bars. Google Sheets doesn't totally do that, but that's okay. So how we visualize is different. So this is what I mean by taking that moment to pause and be like, do we have categories or do we have numbers? These are words that our students can really process. That can play out really well for what kind of graphs they'll make down the road. Because if the answer is numbers, they should not be putting together bar charts for us across different categories. If they don't have categories, they need to be pointed in the direction of working with visualization types that use numbers coming through.